Hello there, my name is Martin Henley. This is the Effective Marketing YouTube channel. And if you've spent a second here, you will know that I'm on a mission to give you everything you need to be successful in your business. Now, as far as I know and as far as I can help you, the way to be more successful in your business is to be more successful with your sales and marketing. So I'm here giving you everything I know about sales and marketing, and I'm pulling in anyone I can find to extract from them anything that I think might be useful for you in pursuing the success of your business. Now, you might be interested to support us in this exercise. You can do that just by letting this video play out, just by watching this video, just by taking some value from this video, just by commenting if you found something interesting or useful in this video. I expect you will, because today's guest has been running his own businesses since 1998. He's been running his current business, bestpractice.biz, since 2009, providing business coaching, training, recruitment, and ISO certification. So that's 13 years of that. He is currently editor-in-chief of Infinite Magazine. He is the national president of the Australian Open Skiff Association, which I think might have something to do with sailing. He scales businesses. He sails boats. He is famous for producing 36,000 social posts in 2020. And his LinkedIn professional headline reads, "Helping blooming entrepreneurs and their teams to work on their business to accelerate their growth." It could also read, "Helping blooming entrepreneurs and their teams to work on the business to accelerate their growth." Today's guest on the 56th episode of Talk Marketing is Kobi Simmat. Hello, Kobi.
Hey, Martin. Great to be here. I'm so excited to be chatting to you today. It's been a big lead up to this, so really excited to be here and to be spending some time with you, see what we can extract out of our brains and bring some value. But I am super passionate, as you kind of touched on there, about helping blooming or blossoming entrepreneurs grow and scale their business. I guess I'm doing the work that wasn't there for me, giving the advice that wasn't there for me when I started my businesses. We have a family office and a number of brands, and we're building different companies. And yeah, as you touched on, I am famous now for 36,000 social media posts in 2020. And that wasn't spam. That was about creating value for as many people as possible and kind of scratching a bit of an itch while we were all in lockdown through that time at the beginning of this global pandemic, which is carrying on right now because 50% of my staff are off with COVID at the moment. So I think we're getting another wave through Sydney, Australia. So Martin, great to be here.
It's really great to have you here. And especially because LinkedIn, weirdly, yesterday did a good job and prompted me to check out some of your live content, which was really useful because I'm busy putting together a course to be delivered in June. And one of the components of that was value. And there you were talking brilliantly about exactly that thing. So I'm stealing that, man, if that's okay.
100%. Go for it.
Okay, super cool.
That particular book, yesterday we were talking about Add Value by Mark Carter is fantastic. So maybe I'll drop Mark Carter under the bus later on and we'll get some contact details in the comments under this video for everybody.
That would be fantastic if we could do that. That would be really fantastic. Okay, so we just need to clear up. Is this an intentional pun? Because I know you Australians like to do this occasionally. Because blooming is kind of like an expletive, like these bloody entrepreneurs. So it is an intentional pun. Okay, good. As long as
it's an intentional pun, and we did write blossoming entrepreneurs, but a few people were like, I'm not really blossoming, am I? I'm a blooming entrepreneur. So yes, it is a play on words, and we do chop and change it. So come back to my LinkedIn profile, and I'll have another practical joke for everybody in the next couple of weeks.
Super cool. Excellent. Okay, good. Right. So this Skiff association thing, that's a sailing thing, is it? What's a skiff is? I thought a skiff was like
it's a little 8-foot sailing dinghy for kids. I run a kids sailing program. That's kind of what I do on the weekends with my son. My son's 11. It's a little boat that's produced by Bic, the company that famously makes biro pens. And the guys at Big got together and made these lovely little 18-foot sailing boats. They're plastic. They're almost bulletproof, and the kids can have a lot of fun on them. They're pretty quick. and it's an exploding class around Australia, the Open Skiff, and the world. They're very popular around the world. And I got roped into being the national president of the Open Skiff Association, which is to kind of coordinate with a really good crowd of people the events all over Australia and the world. In fact, we're sending a crowd to France for the international racing, and kids are progressing through those into things like the Sail G that we're starting to see on YouTube and around the world, and even the America's Cup. So some of the young great sailors of the world right now have come through that class of boats.
Wow, that's cool. That's really cool. Does it say something about you that you can't just go with your son and enjoy this thing, that you end up being the national president of this association? Does that say something about you?
Yeah, I think it does. It's true what they say. If you want something done, give it to someone who's busy. So, look, I guess I got a great team of people behind me here at Best Practice who give me the freedom to kind of focus on the things I want to focus on. They kind of get on with, doing the business delivery part of what they're doing. And I can say yes to those things because I just hand them straight off to my team and I say, hey, give me a hand with this. And it keeps it interesting for everybody, So the marketing team help with, producing T-shirts for the kids and that kind of stuff. So I do enjoy it, and I tend to rope people in. So when I sign up for something like that, I'm generally thinking, who can I delegate it to anyway?
Good. Delegation is king, I think. Delegation is king. Okay, super cool. So you've got a sense of what's going on here. The idea is that we just want to add value, if we possibly can, to people who are looking to do better with their businesses. My thing was I wanted to be the small businesses marketing champion. When I was running my business, I realized that business wasn't at all viable. They don't understand marketing. They don't have money to invest in marketing. They don't like all of that stuff. But it's an itch that I can't stop scratching. So here I am, almost 20 years later. I still want to be supporting those people, and I can do it for free because of the generosity and the organization of people like you who are free to be adding this value. So there are only 5 questions. First question is, how are you qualified to talk to us about your specialist subject? And your specialist subject is accelerated business growth. The second question is, who do you work with? How do you add value to their lives? The third question is, what is your recommendation for people who want to get better at accelerated business growth or want to accelerate the growth of their business? Fourth question, really easy, what should people read? The fifth question is, who can you throw under the bus and actually introduce me to who might endure to have one of these conversations with me? So, how are you, Kobi Simmat? How are you qualified to talk to us about accelerated business growth?
Look, I got a great story. I was 17 years old in 1992, so you can go ahead and work out how old I am right now. And I was working behind the bar in one of Sydney, Australia's fine dining restaurants. It was quite an incredible place. It was beautiful, crisp white tablecloths. It was a waterfront restaurant with an incredible view over this incredible river. And people would come down on beautiful sunny days and sit at this incredible restaurant by the water with, these lovely white tablecloths and, polished wine glasses with an incredible wine list and come and sit down, and we'd walk up to the table in these restaurants and say, hey, it's such a beautiful day today. Let me get you started with a glass of beautiful sparkling Shiraz or a beautiful glass of a lovely Western Australian Chardonnay, and let's get you going and enjoy this incredible experience. And so I started working in this restaurant, and I was working alongside this incredible entrepreneur who was running this restaurant and really passionate about people having this incredible experience. So, I'd stand behind the bar, which was right next to the cash register, and the entrepreneur running the business owner, he was kind of the maitre d' as well. I think we probably ended up with about 65, 70 seats in that restaurant. Very kind of, lovely little intimate experience, some beautiful music playing, this incredible outdoor environment, and then, a couple of Sydney's best chefs at the time. And, I watched that business operate. I watched the people come in. I saw the trends in what they were drinking and ordering from week to week, month to month. I saw the food. I saw the season of the menu. I saw the dishes on the menu that were popular, and I kind of got a bit of a sense, of what people started to like. And this particular bar was really interesting. It was incredibly small, with some top shelf spirits right behind us. But at kind of 17 years old and really not meant to be there, because initially I was I was, 18 years old is the kind of legal limit to deal with alcohol and that kind of stuff. But, a long time ago. And I was in this interesting place because I was literally there to wash the glasses initially. Like, you stand here and wash the wine glasses. And then they said, oh, can you throw a couple of beers over the bar, and so that the waiters could carry them out to the people at the tables. And it was also the pathway to the bathroom. And so I'd often be there polishing glasses and making drinks. And, at 18, when I turned 18, became quite a good cocktail bartender and making cocktails. But it was the pathway to the bathroom. So the bathroom door to the bathrooms for the restaurant was right next to the bar. And so patrons would come past the bar and go, oh my God, that drink you made was amazing. Or, how's the weather outside? Or this place is incredible. And so I got to really talk to and interact with the customers and kind of get this sense of what they did and didn't want. But long story short, that business really struggled. It struggled to be profitable. It struggled to grow. It struggled to, they were compelled to have this incredible service with really beautiful food and really beautiful wines, but the business was just a huge amount of effort. And so I built up this incredible amount of experience that, from 18 to 19 to 20 years old, I went further into hospitality and ended up studying hospitality. And at the same time as focusing on that, I really didn't focus on high school because I was finishing high school and I kind of was like, I'm interested in working and doing nothing else. I really did nothing at high school and flunked. And my mum said to me, look, if you want to continue to stay living at home, you're either going to pay full freight for rent or you need to be studying. So I dragged myself into hospitality college and I studied an associate diploma in business management. And that was I think it ended up being 94, 95. I studied that. But that doesn't make me uniquely qualified to talk about this. What makes me uniquely qualified is that at that particular time, while I was watching that business and I was working in that business, my dad's business failed. And we were basically left homeless. And so at that point in time, in 92, 93, 94, I originated a quest on why do businesses fail? Why do businesses succeed? And, when my family was left homeless at the beginning of 1994, when our business failed, and that entrepreneur that I stood next to every shift in that restaurant, who was managing the cash register and trying to run a business and deal with staff, his marriage broke up. I was like, why do businesses have such a significant impact on people when there's customers right there and there's kind of a service and it's a beautiful restaurant? My dad was a great architect. Why do businesses fail? So since basically 1994, I studied this business diploma. I have worked tirelessly every single day, reading books, doing courses, doing degrees, doing diplomas, and then going and working with clients to understand this problem. What makes businesses successful? We hear about the failure rates of businesses. 50% of businesses fail in the first year, and less than 5% of businesses ever achieve the financial goal that the entrepreneur kind of came up with, at the 10-year mark. The numbers are stacked against us. And so I don't think anybody on the planet has worked as tirelessly as me for the last 20 years trying to analyze it. So where we are today is Best Practice is an organization that has over 900 companies globally on subscription who are signed up to have us helping them on a 3-monthly or 6-monthly or annual basis. Look at process improvement, look at strategy, look at growth opportunity, with a view to trying to understand what might bring them unstuck in the future, and be trying to hold people accountable in businesses to be looking towards the horizon and evaluating all those aspects of business. So I kind of sit right now with this definition of business being, the loose definition of business in my words is it's something that makes something of value, whether it's a product or service that people want, that they're prepared to pay for at a price that enables that product or service to be delivered in a nice way that meets the person who wants the product or service expectations and leaves a little bit of money left over for the founders or entrepreneur to continue to show up and do that thing that they love doing. And if any part of that definition is broken, the business is going to fail. So I guess, I could go and say I've got degrees and qualifications and I've read thousands of books, but my unique qualification is I was 17 years old and I watched a hospitality business that was one of the best restaurants in Sydney on the waterfront basically struggled to continue to survive. And I watched my dad's business fail, and our house was taken away from us, and I was homeless. And I've been at rock bottom. And so, what makes me uniquely qualified is that I've been to the bottom, and I know what it's like, and I don't want to be there again, and I don't want anybody else to be there. So, let's keep focusing on what businesses can do to succeed and hold each other accountable to deliver that. Because when it goes wrong, it goes really wrong, and it's not a nice place to be.
Okay, wow. Okay, I'm just going to accept you're qualified, man. So there's so much in there. There's something about like the impact. You said the impact of businesses. Did you say the impact of businesses or the impact of businesses failing? There is something about small businesses. This is why this is the scratch I can't stop itching, is because small businesses are the backbone of economies. Like corporations really don't offer much. You know, they're not brilliant at paying their taxes. They're not brilliant at looking after their employees. I'm not a big fan of corporations, so let's just say that. But apart from that, every growth that's ever been achieved in any economy, any national economy, has come off the back of small business success. And we're at a weird time. I don't know how it is in Australia. I know how it is in the UK. The number of small businesses in the UK has trebled in the last 20 years from 2 million to 6 million. So whilst corporations have never been more powerful, have never been more adept at putting small businesses out of business, the number of small businesses is growing. It's an issue for me that it's so difficult to be a small business, because it is. You know, I've lived it, you've lived it. And you're right, the impact goes straight to the household. You know, if you lose your business, then you very often lose your home, you lose your marriage, you lose your family. You know, it is such a high risk endeavor. So I don't know if there is a question in that. There is a question in that, which is, do you share that kind of feeling, that kind of inspiration, or are you working exclusively with small businesses, or do you work with larger businesses? How does that dynamic work?
Yeah, look, we kind of discussed off air before we came on that there are small businesses out there. There's that particularly from a marketing perspective who don't get it, don't want it, don't value it, can't spend money on marketing, for example, and that's no different to the strategic advisory and management advisory services that I offer. There are people out there who are micro businesses or one person businesses who get it and value it, can't afford it, and there are people out there that are medium sized businesses that happen to be in the right place at the right time. So there are let's just say there are humans that don't get it. But I share the same sentiment that absolutely small business is the backbone of the economy. It's the largest employer on the planet. And so, if you look at any economy, the numbers are kind of the same. There's some really good statistics around this topic in the Small Business Administration in the US. The numbers are mirrored to a smaller scale here in Australia, and definitely the numbers that you quoted there in the UK. They're all very similar, which is really interesting. So approximately 50% of any registered entities in any economy, whether it's the UK, the US, or Australia, as examples, are one-person businesses. And then the numbers kind of change, to the top of small, into medium, and then up to large. I've got two positive statements because I like to always think about the positives. The first positive statement is the fastest way to create jobs in any economy is to get a small business to double in size, one person to two. And so if governments around the world focus on growth in small business, you can literally create gazillions of jobs. So if you want to manage employment or unemployment or other things like that, and I've got a really interesting point to make in a second, then double small business. Put incentives in place that help double the size of small business. And the second positive point is that small businesses are always the feeder for corporations. Corporations don't create things and make things from inception. They're not entrepreneurial. They buy, medium-sized businesses buy small businesses, and then large corporations buy medium-sized businesses, and that's how corporations grow. So there's two really cool things in that. One, growth opportunities in small business. It's really easy to double businesses and get excited about growth. And two, the positive upside, although we're not massive fans of corporates, and I hear your point there, we can actually sell to them. So we can kind of suck some value out of corporates by helping people to grow small businesses and maybe have that, end of career exit, with that incredible, wealth building exercise that has generational legacy. So, someone builds a small business or up to a medium-sized business, sells it to a corporate, does an exit that creates generational wealth. And my mother-in-law is the recipient. It's late in the day here. She's the recipient of that. Her father sold his business to a large corporate, was able to maintain that wealth, and then that wealth's obviously been inherited by the next generation. So that's been really interesting and exciting for her. I don't know. I don't want any help. I actually don't want to inherit any money, because you see what happens with families when they get in fights over money. So I'm good by myself. Like, I've built my own wealth from scratch with no help. But it is something, and I think the final thing, just generally about business, I am super passionate about business, and that is that every single thing that we buy everywhere in the world is sold to us. Everything, every product, every service that we buy everywhere in the world is sold to us by a business. And most of those things are sold to us by small businesses. So when, I'm up on my soapbox right now, and I'll get off in a second, but if you want to solve some of the world's problems, we've worked out that religion has been incapable of solving the world's problems. We've worked out that governments have been incapable of solving the world's problems. We've worked out that the military has been incapable of solving some of the world's problems. What's left? What's left is the business community, because the business community and business opportunity provides employment. Employment provides wealth. It provides a meaningful purpose for people. It's absolutely incredible. And so I'm super passionate about business being the opportunity to solve some of the incredible, it also creates a lot of the world's problems as well. Don't get me wrong, but some of the big problems with poverty, famine, those sorts of things that we do have around the world, conflict, I think it kind of sits with business. And I can't remember the professor, but I'm quoting a professor out of the Middle East who talked about, business incubators and why business incubators are so important in third world countries, because they can help people and empower people to a greater destiny, which I think is absolutely fascinating.
Cool. Are you saying that small businesses could solve the world's problems?
100%. Absolutely. Yes.
Could you just say it, and then I can make it the headline for this talk?
I believe that small businesses are going to be able to solve all of the world's biggest problems.
Fantastic. Excellent. Okay. So at 23:37, we had a headline. Beautiful. Good. We don't have to worry about that anymore. I'm trying to hide my arms because I got attacked by a child with a packet of felt tips earlier, so it looks like I've been scribbling on myself. Good. Right. The question is then, why is it so difficult to run a small business, and does it need to be so difficult?
Yeah, look, I think it's really difficult to run a small business, because there's a really interesting piece of human psychology that gets in the way. It's also the reason why small businesses start. And it's this thing called the law of reciprocity and the human condition to serve others. And small businesses are really easily started because someone says, need a haircut. And someone says, well, I'm good at cutting hair. Come over and I'll cut your hair. And all of a sudden it turns into this thing where people line up to get the haircut, or someone says, look, I really need some help around the house. I'm not very good at making my house or fixing my house. Does anyone know anyone who could come around and help me fix a leak in the roof, or fix a creaky door, or paint it, or clean it, or make it look good? Could someone come around and maybe help me with some cleaning, or maybe some tidying up? Or someone says, look, I'm not really good at cooking for myself. I really need a beautiful meal, a lovely curry or something special, and I'm not really a very good cook. Does anyone know anyone who could cook something? And someone says, yeah, I'm a great cook. I love making curry. Come and try my curry. And all of a sudden they start selling their curry in a street stall on the side of the road, or in a bigger restaurant. And so I think as humans, there's activities that we can do that help other people. And so while we may not intend on helping other people and forming what we would call a business, what we end up doing is we serve other people and we get remunerated for that. And in doing that, this business forms. Now, there's no prerequisite for, knowing anything about marketing, knowing anything about evaluating the product or service, knowing anything about how to do it in a profitable way, supply chain, people management. I need more people on my team because there's lots of people queuing up for coffee or curry or house cleaning or whatever, or building. And so all of a sudden we go, actually, I'm really busy. I need someone to come and help me. Can you come and help me build houses? Can you come and help me make curries? Can you come and help me cut hair? Can you come and help me make YouTube videos? And so all of a sudden, before we know it, we kind of can put this badge on and we can look back and go, oh my God, look at this. I've actually built a business. But when we actually get into, the science of the thing, there's nothing there saying, hey, you know what, you better learn a bit of the science about how business runs. It's not difficult. And some people have the unique success without kind of any backing and without kind of any knowledge, because they just happened to be at the right place on the wave when the wave came through, and they surfed this incredible wave all the way to the beach. And so there's hundreds of people that try surfing and just keep falling off their surfboard. But there's lots of people that were in the right place at the right time. Mark Zuckerberg's not the smartest person on the planet. He just happened to be in the right place at the right time. And thousands of people tried to start things like Facebook. He just happened to be the one that popped, And so I think now that I've done so much reading, and there's hundreds of books I can recommend, and so much watching and listening and trial and error and experimenting myself, I now kind of get, that definition that I talked about is that there's those 5 kind of parts to business. And I think it's hard because we're not compelled or inspired or forced or incentivized to learn some of those fundamental principles, which are there and they are available, and a lot of them are free. But we get too busy dealing with the 100 people down the street who want curry. We go home really exhausted from making curry all day or cutting hair all day or helping people with marketing or whatever it is. And we don't go and kind of do the professional development and the learning and try and solve the problems. And in some instances, it's because we don't even know the problem exists. We don't have a dashboard. We don't run a profit and loss report. We don't look at our leads. We don't look at a dashboard. And we don't even know that we're speeding. We're going down the road speeding. We don't know what the speed limit is. We don't know how fast we're going. And then all of a sudden we either have a crash or we get, pulled over by a police officer and fined for speeding because we don't have a dashboard. We don't know what the limits are. We don't know where the road's going. We don't have a map because no one told us that we need all of that when we started. We just said, you know what, I like making curry, so I'm going to keep, running a beautiful restaurant. But then we all of a sudden we find ourselves broke.
Yeah, 100%. And you're right about how easy it is to start. I mean, you're kind of talking about falling into running a business. I make great donuts. People want to buy my donuts. But I don't know how it is in the UK. In the States, you need a license to run a business. In the UK, you just need to say, I'm running this business. You don't actually have to incorporate in any way, shape or form. Like the least level of formalization, I think, is a business bank account. So once you've got a business bank account, and I had no idea about this. I did some personal development. I'd always thought I was the world's worst employee. I always thought I'm going to have to run my own business. I did this personal development. I woke up the next day and it's like, that's it. I'm starting now, And I didn't realize how easy it was. I needed a laptop because business companies had always provided me with laptops. I walked into a laptop shop and they're like, what's it for? And I'm like, well, I'm starting my business. And they're like, oh, okay, do you want credit? And I'm like, how? And they're like, well, because we offer businesses credit. And I'm like, well, I'm only thinking about it. They're like, no, you're a business already. You can have this credit. So I mean, that to me seems to be what is more real than it was 2005. In 2005, than being offered credit. This business entity that was a figment of my imagination is now creditworthy. So it's too easy to start. And I think the other thing that's really interesting is how much luck is actually involved, because you will have read Outliers, will you, by Malcolm Gladwell. And he talks about all these people and just how they happened to be in the right place when it was happening globally. Do you know what I mean? Or they happened to be in the right environment all the time that they were growing up. So when it happened globally, they could participate. So it's amazing how much this is to do with luck. Is there an answer? Because, like you say, governments have already failed to solve the world's problems. So, can governments actually be better at supporting small businesses, or what's the answer to that challenge? Because there's something else. This is the last thing I want to say before I hear from you. Is when I was running my small business, I didn't have a blooming clue. I didn't know that actually running a business is an exercise in having customers profitably. I didn't know that. I didn't know that to have customers profitably, you need to invest your time, your energy, and your money. So I had a shit ton of time. I had a shit ton of energy. I had no freaking money. So I was behind from day one. And I don't think I ever got ahead for a day. Do you know what I mean? Because it's always then there's an opportunity. Like you could do this, but it's going to take everything you've got to do it. And you have to leap or not. And it was like that for 9 years. So by the time I stopped running the effective marketing company like an agency and having customers and all those things, I was pretty broken, you know. So there's a few questions in there. You know, but the big question is, what's the answer then? How do we? Because, sorry, this is the last thing. I was interested in all of this stuff, like the development, the reading, I'd get on time management for a period of time. I'd get on positive mental attitudes. I'd get on whatever the latest in marketing was, like all of the different platforms were coming along while I was running my business. So we had to work out Google, we had to work out Facebook, we had to work out email, and all of this stuff. I mean, that was pretty core to my business. I was a marketing company. But all of this aside, like how to build a proper business, I think was a pretty, significant distraction. You know, there was too much. I mean, and who knows, if I'd taken that time, put it somewhere else, then it might have been better. So the answer I have for you is, what's the answer? Like, how do we actually get to a place where small businesses have a better chance?
Yeah, look, I think it's hard to give you kind of one answer, but I'm going to have a go.
Okay.
I think there's one piece of advice, and it starts with a couple of questions. Is when you're running your business. So for anyone who's listening to this, you know, think about this. When you're running your business, do you see yourself as being the best? Because you will probably be saying yes to this question. Yes, of course. I've got the best product, the best quality service. I'm the best. Well, if that's the case, what is the easiest way to differentiate yourself? Because we talk about differentiation, and I'll get into kind of whether you should or shouldn't run that business in a second, but I want to leave you with this one really significant piece of advice. The easiest way to differentiate yourself, and you're going to freak out when I say this because this is tough advice to take, but the easiest way to differentiate yourself in the market against your competitors as being the best quality is to do what? Be the most expensive. Because when we go into business, we make this fundamental mistake. We're making this mistake that we're going to go in and we're going to be better on whatever the feature is, and it's going to bring more benefit to the customer, and we're going to do a little bit cheaper because we want to win some business and we think price is what attracts people. But we do that on this stupid assumption that the other person's profitable, and we'll just accept a little bit lower profit because we're going to be better, so we're going to win more business, so we're going to be bigger. But the reality is we're competing against somebody else who's got no idea what they're doing, and they don't know about all those things you talked about, and they're never getting ahead a day. And so you're going in and competing with people who are not profitable on an assumption that they are profitable and that they're doing really well. But what they are doing is hustling against their competitor when they went in a little bit cheaper. And so every new entrant to the market thinks they're a little bit better and they're going in a little bit cheaper. So my advice to everybody is be more expensive, because that holds you accountable to a number of standards. The first one is to be bloody good, really good, the best with your product or service, because then you can do meaningful work, you can hire great people, and if you can win business because you're the best product, and I'm the kind of guy when I go buying things, I want to, if someone says, oh, here's option number one, I say, is there option number two? And my first question out of my mouth is, which one's the most expensive? I look at the most expensive one, because I understand quality, and I understand that if I buy the more expensive one, it means that I'm giving the business the other small business or the other business an opportunity to put more effort into research, development, people, investment, and be around in the long term. But as we all negotiate, in terms of how do we get small businesses to get a better go, it's kind of an economy in reverse that we've got to give people an opportunity to survive. So if you're the kind of person that loves to barter and bargain and screw people down, then you're to blame for the success, because you're going up against people who haven't got experience. They're not trained salespeople. They're great at making curry or making donuts or doing marketing services. They're not necessarily super tough negotiators. If you want to do that, go into the finance industry, or the legal industry. And so I think the first thing we can do is encourage, if you're a business owner and you're listening to this, is reset your price. Particularly now where we've got global inflation, it's a great excuse. Like right now, as we're recording this podcast, I'm going to say, go with inflation and use it as an excuse to put your price up and set your margins where they need to be, and then invest in developing your product or service so it is the best. Now, back to my definition about business. Remember, my definition of business was that it's a product or service that's of value that is being sold to people who want it. You need to be hyper vigilant on, do people want my product or service, or am I being a focus group of one and I think people want my product or service? And the best test for anyone who is starting a business is go out and pitch people and sell them the product or service and get the money off them up front. Because if people are like, that's a no-brainer, I want it, take my money, I want to be first in the queue, it's a great business idea. But if people are saying, I'll pay you later, then it's a silly business idea. And so you want to be the highest price and you want to get money up front. And that is the best way. You've got to manage your costs and you've got to be fiscally responsible down the track. But I think the two best pieces of advice, particularly if you're a startup entrepreneur and you think about starting a business and how do I get more leads and how do I do more marketing, then go and do what I call, which is kind of rapid launch, which is launching the product or service and asking for the money up front, maybe at an early bird discount. But you really want to be testing the market with pre-sales rather than testing the market, spending all your capital on developing your business and your product or service and running out of money without even making a cent up front. And I think those are two really basic fundamental business principles that I won't start a business now. And we've started a few businesses. We've got a few in our family office, but I don't do anything now unless I've got people prepaying and I've done a rapid launch and I'm the most expensive, because I ethically want to provide amazing products and services that are of the highest quality. I don't want to be working with the kind of mediocre crap at the bottom. I think I've only got 14,500 days left to live, give or take 1,000. And I want to do something meaningful with those 14,500 days. So I'm going to bring beautiful products and services to the marketplace and help people achieve what they want to achieve in life.
Wow. Good. Okay, so I'm not blown away because there's a couple of things I tell people all the time. The first thing I tell people is you can't provide a Rolls-Royce service on Robin Reliant money. So we're 100% in agreement there. The thing is, I've never met a business owner who hasn't wanted to be the best in their market. And at the same time, they want to be the cheapest, because this is all psychology. Like, small businesses, unfortunately, run too much to the ego of the business owner. And you're right, they won't do their market research. They will just believe and believe and believe without having done that work. There's two aspects to that. You can't provide a Rolls-Royce service on Robin Reliant money. The second thing is the thing that you've alluded to. You don't want to be dealing with Robin Reliant drivers.
Yeah.
They're a blooming nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
They are 100% reliant on that Robin Reliant. And if that Robin Reliant isn't available, their life is screwed. The Rolls-Royce drivers will have something else in the garage. So if things start to go wrong, you've got some leeway. So that's the first thing I say to other people, to people. And the other thing I say is be the thing that people are looking for. And in 2022, we don't have to guess anymore. We know the digital platforms are lying to us, but they give us a pretty good indication of what it is that people want. So both of these things, price, Like, you will have read Cialdini's book, and he opens with this thing about the green jewelry, and it got marked up double instead of half, and it got sold. Because what you're saying is absolutely true. Is if people don't know enough about something, they will be directed entirely by the price. So they will expect the most expensive thing to be the best thing. So that's kind of handy, because if you are the most expensive thing, you've got the budget to be the best thing. Do you know what I mean? It's like it all works beautifully. But it seems to me a little bit like people are wrong about these things. They are facing in completely the wrong direction. And they're thinking they have to be the cheapest and have to be the best at the same time. And clearly that's not possible. That's really stressful. And then they're thinking that some innovation they had when they were half asleep one Sunday morning and the sun was breaking through the curtains, and they have a flash of inspiration, they think that's the thing everyone's going to want to buy. The thing everyone's going to want to buy is the thing they already want to buy. Do you know what I mean? So it seems to me that, and this is the way I conduct myself, is just by identifying these misconceptions and trying to divert people back to what the truth of these situations is. So I see myself always as kind of inverting the thing. Like, everyone hates selling. Selling was the best job I ever had. All you're doing is making friends with people, working out what it is they want, and working out ways to get it to them with their budget. If you're doing sales properly, people aren't doing sales properly because they've never got a lead. They're not talking to people who want anything. So anyone who stumbles into their lair gets bullied into buying whatever it is they want, or leaves with a sour taste in their mouth. So this is the way I kind of see it, is that people aren't seeing the world in the way they need to be successful in their business. So that's good. On that note, you said when you were working in the restaurant and you were between the restaurant and the toilets, sounds awfully glamorous, you had the opportunity to interact with customers. And that's something that our generation had that I'm not sure the new generation are getting. Like, my first job, I was dialing 120 times a day to speak to 30 people a day, but I was speaking to 150 people a week, 600 people a week. I was speaking to 7,000 people a year in my market. So I had that interaction. Now they're engaging bots on LinkedIn. Do you know what I mean? And not having that interaction. So I think that is so if the theme is becoming, be the thing that people are looking for, how on earth do you know what people are looking for if you're not talking to people all day, every day? I don't know what the question is. The question is, am I right? And if I am right, what's the answer?
Yeah, look, I just concur. And if you are listening to this podcast or video, you're in the right place anyway. Like, because you're on a quest to look for how you can improve your bottom line, how you can improve your sales, how you can improve your leads, how you can bring more value to your customers. So you're in the right place. So I think we've got to start with who we are talking to and who we're not talking to. So, and I absolutely agree. If we just circle back to the corporates that we kind of touched on at the beginning of the conversation, those corporates will engage some of the most high value consulting companies on the planet to help them with these same problems. Let's not assume that the corporates don't have problems, because we see corporates collapse and chop and change and sell off businesses and stop making products, all of the time. And there's a great book by the McKinsey company, which is one of the big corporates that does all this consulting work, called Beyond the Hockey Stick. And in that book is the formula that they advise large companies on in terms of strategy and innovation. And the number one piece of advice that they give the big corporates is focus on the businesses and opportunities that have a tailwind. So even at the biggest corporate level, to concur with what you say, is be the thing that people want. And so I think that's kind of, if people want it, they will pay you for it up front. It's like the ultimate test. So, we can kind of go down to really deep, follow the depths and kind of, go all the way down in the analysis. But it really comes back to, that broad definition I've got of, a business is something that creates something of value to people that want it, that are prepared to pay for it at a price that enables you to deliver an amazing service and leaves money left over for the owners and founders. It's got those 5 parts. So it's A, make something that's got some value. gives people benefits out of life. B, make sure that there's market that want it. And the easiest thing to do is make something that everybody else is making, but go in and make it better and charge more for it. Don't go and make it better and charge less because you're making an assumption that they were profitable, and then, go and deliver it at the price and in a business model that, in a way that the customer's prepared to pay for it, and then have a good team around you to deliver that product or service, and make sure that you're always having profit margin. So, I think that it's hopefully that's kind of answering your question or concurring with what you're saying. But I think the easiest business to be in is the business that's trending that other people are doing, because it does give you a game and competitors. It gives you a game to play and competitors to play against. And the biggest trap that I have been falling into for my whole career is trying to look for something that no one else is doing or no one else has done yet. And I think that's a trap as entrepreneurs that we fall into. I don't like to label myself as an entrepreneur because I worry that my customers think I'll fail. Because lately entrepreneurs it's okay to fail, and I don't want to be that person, because I want to be there for my customers and the people that I'm helping, and because invariably they've already paid me, because I build business models where it's cash positive, where it's money up front. And if you are at a coffee shop or cafe, particularly in the economic climate that we're about to go into for the next 2 years, so my forecast for 2022, 2023 is, we've got interest rates starting to climb out of the bottom. I think they'll go up for a little bit and then they'll go back down again. But that's going to cause some shockwaves through global economies. And unfortunately, small business is the recipient of disaster, its unfair share of disaster, whether it's natural disasters or economic disasters. So I just want to encourage everybody who's listening to, rethink your price, rethink your quality position in the market, back yourself, and if anything, learn how to do sales and marketing. And you're here listening to a marketing interview, where we're talking about that, and learn to sell. And if you're not selling, you're being sold to. So you might be great at making donuts, curry, your unique business, your unique product or service, but this, give yourself some sales training. Grab a couple of books on sales. Start reading, and if anything, you get better at closing the deals that you're getting, and your strike rate will improve. So, I'm just speaking from experience, because they're the mistakes that I made. I thought I could get really good with systems, and I could get really good with ticking all the boxes and having this great compliant business when I started my business. And I was like, actually, you know what? I need to get better at strategy. I need to get better at bringing products to market that people want. And why is that important? Because I was homeless in 1995, beginning of 1995 is when we were kicked out of our house. The bank foreclosed on my dad, and we were homeless for 3 months, and we had to live with friends and move all of our possessions. And I now know that my dad's business at that time was a business that no one wanted to buy, at a price that they didn't want to buy from, with a team that weren't doing a very good job of being there, delivering a quality service. And that's why his business failed. And so you want to be looking at, be the business that people want. So, I can go on all day about this,
Okay.
but those they're the cool points,
Okay, we've got another 25 minutes. I think this is a really useful conversation, so I'm glad we've got here. Competition. We've got to another point where people are just completely wrong about this. And my issue is, there's an industry, or there is an establishment who propagate these misinformations. Can we say that? Being too political in 2022? Dragon's Den in the UK. It's appalling. It's really, really awful. Really awful. So basically, it's a lot of fat, rich people with piles of money laughing at poor people. It's the only way I can see it now. When I was running my business properly, I'm like, this is dynamite. This is the best thing. Now, I see it's completely the wrong thing. Their criteria, obviously entertainment plays a big part, but their criteria for investing in a business their stated formula seems to be that you have to have something that's completely unique, something that has a huge viable market, and something that can't be replicated. And then they will invest in you. My experience is that if nobody is making money doing the thing that you are intending to do in 2022, that's a pretty strong indication that it's going to be really hard to make money doing that. Do you know what I mean? So this idea that you don't want competition is completely wrong again. You absolutely want competition. You absolutely want someone to have established a need in the market, to have realized that need, to be making money realizing that need, because then you know that all you need to do is go in and roll your sleeves up and be a little bit better and work a little bit harder and add a little bit more value, and you will be successful. Okay, so here's the challenging thing. The establishment that continues those narratives for me is the enemy, because it's not true. It makes it harder. You know, if I start my own business, I go to bed every night thinking, if only I can find the unique product, the unique product, the unique product. I'm wasting all of that thought, all of that energy on something that is completely useless to me, because even if I do come up with something that is completely unique, what I have to do is educate the world that they need this thing before. Do you see what I'm saying? So this is another fallacy. Okay, so before we started speaking, you said to me that you're mates with Gary Vee. And the challenging thing for you, for me maybe, is that I see Gary Vaynerchuk as part of that establishment who are propagating those false narratives, that misinformation. It just breaks my heart that, okay, I'm talking too much, but let me say one more thing and then we'll go back. The average relationship, customer and digital marketing agency in London is 3 months. Wow. 75% of restaurant, hospitality businesses go out of business in the first 6 months. 80% of small businesses fail in the first 12 months. And we know what's going on behind this is the effect that it's having on individuals and families and all those things. And then people are making money misinforming people about these things. Like the Dragons, if they're so rich and successful, why do they have to be sitting there on BBC One on Tuesday night, stroking their piles of cash in front of the nation? Do you know what I mean? Maybe because it's not making them happy. Anyway, which is an aside. The question for you is, so now I go to pitch a customer, I have to undo all of this BS that they've seen on Dragon's Den, all of this BS that they might have heard from Gary Vaynerchuk, all of this BS that they might have heard from the dozen other agencies that have gone in and pitched them this same stuff. I have to do all of this, and in the meantime, small businesses are suffering. So the question is, what's the answer to that particular problem? There is a tsunami. Okay, so this is the question. I wanted to talk to those people on Facebook who are saying, if you're not getting 200 leads a day in your business, you're going to fail. Because that's another lie. Like, I know, you know, a lead is work. Like, every lead has to be qualified. And if I'm a salesperson and I'm getting 200 leads a day, I might be able to qualify 100 in a day. So every day of 200 leads is 2 days of a salesperson. Do you see what I'm saying? It's work. So that's part of what I wanted to dispel. I can't find any of those people anymore. You know, everyone I speak to is an absolute legend. But I know that there is an army, for every one of us, there is an army of people who are propagating BS, which is making it harder again for small businesses to be successful with their marketing. So it's almost like they don't understand they have to have customers profitably. They don't know what marketing is. They know that they don't like it. But when the penny drops and they realize I need some help with this, they go out into the market and they get robbed. So the question is, how do people like you and I, who are serious about wanting to add value to these people's lives to be successful, how do we address that?
Yeah, look, I think because we are talking about marketing, let me give you a marketing answer to the question. Look, you know, it's one at a time, as you know, and it is hand-to-hand combat. And you know, I watch with interest at what people propagate, and then ask the question, why are they propagating it? So I think if you're somebody listening to this and you want to avoid getting robbed, then really ask the question. You know, if there are people that you are following, say on social media, for example, whether you're seeing sponsored posts or whether you're seeing organic posts from pages that you followed, ask yourself, what are they selling? And you know, if you look at someone, say like Gary Vaynerchuk, for example, or you look at the Dragon's Den, what are they selling? The Dragon's Den is selling advertising. and so they're doing whatever they can do to get people's attention. They watch the train smash that it is. They're not there to give business advice. And I think the second thing that you've also got to consider from a social media perspective is this concept of return on investment. If you haven't made a financial return, I think that's a starting point. And this is, you want to be careful not to get robbed, but let's start with the social media aspect. You haven't made a financial return, so you're not going to get any investment. And so you want to ask the question, what are they selling? Why would they be giving that advice? And be a little bit skeptical, not all believing so that you get brainwashed. And then I think what we can do, what you and I can do on a one-by-one basis is listen. This is really simple. It's really simple. So if you're somebody listening to this and you have a YouTube channel, if you're somebody listening to this and you have a website that's got a blog on it, you need to do these two things. You need to write down the most common, frequently asked questions that your customers will ask you. And you need to make sure that you have recorded a 60-second video with the answer to that question, where the title of the video is the question and potentially the answer to the question, and the video answers the question. So if you are anyone in business with a YouTube channel who is kind of giving services or products, you need to make sure you've got videos, because what YouTube is the second largest search engine on the planet, and people are going there to learn information. So what I do and what you can do, and what any colleague, any of our audience that's listening to this, is to make sure, as a very bare minimum, that everywhere on social media that you can possibly put it is the answers, the truthful answers to the frequently asked questions that our customers are asking us, because there will be people that come into the market down the track as they move along their life maturity timeline, that will come in and ask that question. And so we post an answer for it, and you will leave it there on YouTube. And I've got videos where I had hair from 6 years ago where I was answering questions that are going viral, and they keep popping. And I'm like, oh, what's going on there? But it's because there's a wave, constantly waves coming through of people looking for that information. So the second thing, I said you could do two things. The second thing is make sure you have a written answer, that question, and a written answer to that question sitting on your blog or sitting somewhere on your website, because Google is the largest search engine on the planet. And when people are searching around that topic, Google will start to learn that you've got the answer to that question. And if it's a good answer to the question, and you're good at it, then Google is basically going to be serving you traffic where people coming to find out the truthful answer to the question. So I think the more of us out there that can perpetuate truthful answers to the questions, both on YouTube and on our websites, A, it's good for marketing, but B, there will be an equal amount of information out there. The worst thing we can do is kind of freeze and be paralyzed and sit back and not do anything. So we all have to execute, and we all have to keep putting out truth. And I'm serious about that. There are people in my network that perpetuate conspiracies. I'm not going to give them that advice, because they know it's a conspiracy and they're doing it for reasons of getting attention. You want to be putting professional, accurate, fact-checked, truthful advice on your website and your YouTube channel, and we can do that. And because we are small businesses, we are in greater numbers, and the more small businesses that put out accurate information that seriously helps their customers, then you're going to win that battle. And I think that's the best piece of tactical, executable marketing advice that I can give anyone in any business is the stuff we forget to do. Make sure your website has frequently asked questions. It's simple.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Sorry. I think you're right. And the thing is, it is hand-to-hand combat, and it is a battle. And there are far more of them than there are of us. The real danger is when you get to like the hospitality industry, and you can imagine if 75% of these businesses are going out of business in 6 months, then the whole industry is going to position itself to rinse as much as it can out of those businesses in those 6 months, because there is no future. Do you know what I mean? So this is where an industry can go into like a downward cycle, because everyone just realizes we better get what we can now, however we can get it, because they're not going to be there in 7 months. You
and I both know that's unethical, and I don't tolerate unethical behavior. It doesn't stop it happening. And I think all we can keep doing is just keep this campaign going and that's why in 2020 I did 36,000 social media posts. Like, I was, one of the most prolific posters, and it wasn't spam. It was well put together quality content, and you can see it on my Instagram. You can see it on my YouTube, because I was like, well, if people are going to put out the wrong information, I'm going to put out more of the right information. And it was 100 posts a day. Yes, I had a team helping me. Did it cost a lot of money? Yes, it did. But we were all sitting at home because we were locked down because of the pandemic. So what was the right ethical thing to do? Well, our customers were still on the internet, still looking for information. They weren't necessarily doing business. And yes, we got financially impacted from a top line revenue perspective at the beginning of the pandemic. But I was like, well, I'm not going to stop my worthy cause to inspire improvement in 100 million companies. And if we can call out those people, then we need to do that. So you need to do that in a way that you put out more quality content. And for those of us that are putting out content, we've got to be better presenters and more influential and learn the art of storytelling so that our content is more engaging. And then the more people that watch it, the more people that like it, the more people that comment on it, the more that the algorithms will serve it. And we've just got to be, it's like the competition on any product or service. We've just got to be better than the competition and so good they can't ignore us.
Good. Thank you. I believe that. And I kind of see myself as Toto. You remember Toto from The Wizard of Oz? Where he pulls down the curtain and then we get to see it's just the wizard turning the things and making the machine work. I see that as my kind of role in this. Because as much as I'm painting this bleak picture, because it upsets me and it is bleak and it is, I 100% believe exactly the opposite is true. If, like you say, you can genuinely find a way to add value to the world, and you can understand that generating an income and wealth for you and yours is just about finding ways to communicate that value to the world and then engage with them and make friends with them and get a way of getting this service to them and make sure that you're covering your costs at least and having something aside, then that is probably the best existence that's available. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like it probably is. And it's what I think most small business people aspire to, but they're just going the wrong blooming way. They just go, if they stop going that way and start going that way. And it's interesting what you say, like they don't know they're speeding. So often in these conversations, people make like the driving analogy where you have to get a driving license to drive, but you don't need any qualification to run a business. But the analogy for me is more important. It's like if you're in a car and it feels like things aren't right, you stop. If you're in a business and it feels like things aren't quite right, you put your pedal to the metal and you hang on for dear life. This is what's going on too much in people's businesses. I don't know if this is the conversation you're expecting to have, but it's the one I really enjoy having. I think it's a really important one because if we could just get that message to people, it's almost exactly the opposite to what you think. So when you're struggling, like you think everyone gives a shit about the fact that you're struggling or everyone's going to care if you fail. And the truth is people fail every day and nobody cares. So that's an almost exactly the opposite belief that would be really empowering in that situation. It's like, okay, well, I'm going to do my best here, but it doesn't matter, so it could go either way and it's fine. But is entirely different from sitting there thinking, what on earth else can I do? And being stressed and all of those things. Good. Thank you. You're been welcome. Really, really useful. We're not quite finished. Question number 2 then. We've only got 5 questions. We've got 11 minutes to get through the last 4 questions. Who do you do business with? How do you add value to their lives? So what does it actually look like?
Yeah, look, we have a number of businesses. I guess what we're super passionate about in this brand, which is bestpractice.biz, that's our website, is helping organizations to be a great place to work. So we work with organizations that value working on culture and value working on creating great workplaces. And the biggest challenge that I hear people say is I can't find good people. So we help organizations that have that problem of we can't find good people with become an attractive workplace so people bang on your door and want to be there. Great work. People will find you if you're a great workplace. And basically coming up with the recruitment and onboarding procedure and we have a recruitment business. So that our first passion is helping people be great places, helping organisations be great places to work, great culture, great vibe, to make finding people, because organisations turn over, easier. The second thing is that we want organisations to have a great buying experience for their customers. So I have a huge amount of empathy for customers. I put myself in the shoes of the customer and I say, okay, well, what would it be like to buy from you? Because I want you to be the highest value service in the marketplace with the most amount of value that has the best customer experience, so you can be that organisation that can charge the premium price. Because I know when you can charge a premium price, you can employ the best people in the industry, buy the best raw materials for your product or service, and you can deliver compelling services that give the benefits to the customers that they're looking for. So to create organisations that have great buying experience. And then the final thing is to have those organisations to be great value. So either A, a good valuation, or B, really profitable, or both, ideally both. So helping business owners to make decisions about their business model, because there are some business models that are valued in terms of a sale or a transaction in a particular way. And there are some businesses in a particular format can get devalued. And so things like recurring revenue can attract a 10 times multiple of profit. And so if we can take a business and we can turn their product or service into a recurring revenue model, ideally that's in advance, then that business owner could go from a 1 times profit multiple in terms of the value of their business to a 10 times profit multiple in the value of their business. And so in 2 years, I could take a business that's got, say a business has got $1 million in profit, just as an example. And so in the right business model, I could take them from a $1 million valuation. If we can turn it into a subscription model and have recurring revenue, I could literally over a year turn that business into a $10 million valuation and help them with a transaction. I helped that person make $9 million in value in their business, and we found a buyer potentially. So I'm not a business broker, but we found a buyer. That is life-changing wealth for people. And so if you've got a business making $100,000 profit, I could help you literally turn it into $1 million valuation. You could then, say it's a restaurant making $100,000 profit, and all of a sudden we come up with some kind of subscription recurring revenue model. We could turn it into a 10 times multiple by maybe doing subscription food boxes once a month, that instead of buying Uber Eats or whatever, that this beautiful subscription meal turns up at the end of the month. All of a sudden that business is worth 10 times profit. And so, and you can produce those meals, you can deliver them, you can set up the process, you can have a lovely dining experience at home, particularly during the pandemic. And all of a sudden that business becomes a subscription restaurant. The kitchen's still producing the food. Maybe you've got less patrons out the front, but all of a sudden the buyer says, actually, I'm really interested in buying that. And I can scale that across a number of locations because we can replicate that menu. We don't need to do an expensive fit out. And all of a sudden that hospitality business is scalable across a country or across multiple countries. So it's those kinds of things. So we're helping businesses be either A, more profitable, or B, more valuable. So there's really 3 key stakeholders. And I follow the advice of Sir Richard Branson, who talks about look after your staff first, then look after your customers, and then that will look after your shareholders. And we use that order of events. Focus on building great culture, building organizations that are attractive because they can attract incredible talent, and then focus on their customer experience and making that amazing, and then focus on the wealth building exercise for the owners. And so we work with those kind of 3 key parties. Obviously, we're working with small to medium business owners, and I do that for free online on YouTube, or I do that in coaching seminars, or online courses that people can purchase, or I have a big team of coaches and management advisors that work here at Best Practice, and we can go in and do hand-to-hand, one-on-one with clients, and we do an engagement where we'll work with people over a period of time, and that's the kind of stuff we're excited to do, and I do that for my own benefit because I want to leave generational wealth for my son and my wife and my family and future generations. I'm playing this game for my surname, not my first name. I'm sitting here in a $20 t-shirt, pair of jeans, and a pair of Converse Chuck Taylor sneakers. I don't have expensive tastes, and I'm here to actually help people and help businesses. So I take almost all of the profit that we make out of the services we deliver and tip them back into being a better service, doing things like this for you and making sure people get the right advice. I'd prefer that someone got the right advice from me for free and heard it, and at least it was in their subconscious, than me saying, no, I'm not going to give you any advice until you pay me, because I want to see them succeed. I don't want to see another 19-year-old like I was homeless. I don't want to see anybody homeless because a business failed. And so I want to see generational wealth. I want to see people succeed. I want to see, those incredible, the incredible things that businesses can do. Business can solve some of those incredible challenges that we have here on the planet, empowering people. Look at incredible platforms like Airtasker and things like that, where we can access talent in incredible countries, and we can bring value. Instead of trying to walk around my local area looking for a graphic designer or someone to help me, half of them don't want to work anyway. I can go to a platform like Airtasker or Fiverr or Upwork, and I can find people in other countries, and I can really have make a life-changing impact on them by procuring services from those places. So I think that the internet and globalization to a certain extent has helped. It's created other problems, but that's what I'm passionate about. So if we can continue to do that, that's who we engage with. So we're interested in engaging with any organization that's got some challenges that they want to solve. And when we look at the tangible value that we can help with, I'm interested in dollars, percentages, numbers, and time, and what is the metric that they would like to improve. And then can I give them some guidance and advice? And if there's fair commercial exchange down the track, then that would be amazing, because that helps me do more of that meaningful work.
You are an absolute legend. You know that, Kobi?
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you really are. And it's really nice for me to know that there are other people fighting this good fight. And to be fair, you're actually doing it. I'm only sitting here talking about it. So well done, you.
Thank you.
There's something else that's really important in what you just said about this idea of growth. So when I talk to people about accelerated growth and those kinds of things, I think this is one of the big challenges for businesses, for small businesses, is they're told continuously that they have to grow and they have to grow and they have to grow. So this mindless growth, I think, is really dangerous because it's stressful. It's like, when do you stop thinking about this thing if there is no clear objective? And I think what you're saying is 100% the right thing, is that there have to be conditions for growth. If you can make this a subscription service, or if you can make this as a software service, or if you can do those kinds of things, then that kind of growth is possible. And I think what I'd like to see more of a message is just take what's enough. Do you know what I mean? Like if you can establish what's enough for you as a business owner, so you get everything covered and you've got your bit, then I think that would be a much healthier place for businesses to be and for business owners to be. Question.
Yeah,
mark.
I think that it's really interesting, this concept of how much is enough, and what do you want? Whether it's the supercar or the beautiful beach house, or all the incredible international first class private jet overseas holidays. I think that I want to say that I want to give permission for people. It's okay to want that, but it comes with a condition. It's okay to want that, because that does motivate some people and it does drive people. And I was that person 10 years ago. And you'll get some self-awareness with maturity over time. But here's the thing, here's the disclaimer, here's the condition. Your actions need to map against that. And that's where I think there's an accountability piece, because when you audit last week and you look at what you did last week, all of your activities 24/7 last week map against that desire to have the supercar, the beach house, the private jet, international holidays, because it's this want and do thing, right? And I do know a lot of my friends and colleagues and the people that I socialize and network with who are super smart, and they're constantly making decisions week to week on we're dropping that service because it's not performing, we're adding this service, and they're growing because they've got their desire for that thing. But you can look at their time and how they spend their time and invest their time. They don't drink alcohol, they eat really healthy, they work out every day, they do 2 hours of professional development every day, because they are dead set on rocket science. And so I think there's always going to be those people, but I think that there's the wanting and the kind of wearing busy as a badge of honor. I would like to see everybody wear productive as a badge of honor. And when someone says, "How are you?" I'm productive, thank you. Not, I'm really busy, and I'm manic and I'm stressed out. And so it's about getting some hygienic activity happening in your life, like from set an alarm for the time to go to sleep and to bed at night, so that you've got good hygiene around your sleep. and then waking up in the morning and taking control of your day and doing healthy activity and eating healthy ingredients that help you sleep, so help you think smart, and then doing your things on your productive to-do list before you start reacting and consuming content on social media or checking email, all that kind of stuff. And so I like to ask people that question and say, let's audit last week. And it's okay. It's okay. Let's audit last week, but tell me your dreams and your desires. Okay, now let's go and look at last week and go, okay, well, can you show me how the portions of last week that were mapping against achieving that goal and the others that were just like randomly drifting and bumbling along in life? And I think that accountability piece, and I get in trouble for that question sometimes because people are like, how do you know this? It's like, well, it's human behavior. I fall into that trap, So I set myself a goal to do 20 to 30 minutes of professional reading every morning. I have an incredibly large library with over 1,000 business books. If someone recommends a book to me, I buy it straight away and it gets delivered and I put it on my to-read list. And I set myself that hyper productivity because I'm looking for now. I'm not looking for gold nuggets in books anymore. I'm looking for trends in information. I'm seeing messages duplicated and articulated in a different way. And then I'm seeing groups of recipes on how to do things in business. Because I think as I said before, I've got 14,500 days left to live. And I want to make sure that I'm not wasting any time, that I'm leaving a legacy and doing meaningful work along that journey. And I hope this can inspire people to kind of think, right, okay. And look, it's okay. We're humans, right? Sometimes we're onto this, and you talked about it. You're onto personal development and time management and productivity, that kind of stuff. I think the last piece of advice that I just, I kind of want to give at this point and this junction in the conversation is, and it kind of comes back to how we can protect small businesses. Only take advice from someone who can show you evidence that they've done it before themselves. That they've walked the path and here are the potholes and here's how I did it. And so get yourself a mentor or a business author to follow, and don't randomly take advice from people who can't show you that they've followed those steps, particularly on social media. And I think if we can avoid that, obviously avoiding the advertising and the stuff that we talked about, where a restaurateur is going to get stripped for as much free available marketing cash as possible in the startup journey. But I do think that if I look to the people that I have taken advice from in the past that was bad advice and it was wrong advice, and if I look back now, those people hadn't actually done that thing, and so they couldn't show me the steps. And I like to be shown where to go. I like to be shown, hey, come here and let me take you on this journey, and I'll tell you how I did it. And I want to be that person. So I can't give advice on heaps of stuff. I'm trying to stay in my lane because I want to show people here's how it is. And I think kind of the last analogy that on this particular point is I like surfing, right? And I think that you do sometimes have to paddle pretty hard to catch the wave, and put effort in to catch the wave, but then it should be easy. So it shouldn't be hard the whole time, and you shouldn't be scrambling the whole time. You should all of a sudden get into at least from time to time, you should have sessions where you've actually put in a heap of effort, and then it starts to pay out some dividends. And that's what's happening to me in this business right now. Like, I've been sitting in a couple of meetings. We just had a huge team conference last week, and I'm not coasting along, but I'm riding a wave at the moment, and it's pretty nice. But, in the wise words of Tom Hanks, this too shall pass. Tom Hanks has got some great inspirational advice out there for those of you that know the actor Tom Hanks. And he's like, you might feel like you're riding a wave and you're on top of the world. That'll pass. You might feel like you're in hell and you're going through hell. And Warren Buffett says, if you're going through hell, don't stop, because that's a horrible place to stop. So, I think that you've got to acknowledge that there's going to be waves. But if you feel like you're just constantly overwhelmed, then, maybe challenge what it is that you're doing, because you might actually be implementing a really dumb idea. And it might be time to kind of stop, as you said. Let's stop, reset, and think about where we can go in the future.
Brilliant. Okay, good. Can you see my surf photography behind me? That's what I like to do. Is surf.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So if you're down this way, come.
Yeah.
Good. So question number 3, recommendations. I will surmise that I've heard the recommendations be the most expensive, be what people are looking for, only take advice from people who can demonstrate that they've done this before, Is that it, or is there another recommendation for people?
No, I think you've got to. If you're somebody who's got a business, you're listening to this, and you know, challenge yourself to be the most expensive price.
Yeah.
Challenge yourself. Like right now is a really good opportunity to use inflation, global inflation, as an opportunity to reset your prices. And if you doubled your price, would you lose half your customers? Because if you doubled your price and you didn't lose half your customers, geez, you're going to have a really healthy business. So I think you've got to keep asking yourself that problem, question. Because if you can't find people and you're struggling to fit more in, then put your price up. And so kind of like it's kind of the first thing that we go to when we're giving clients and we're working with companies to help improve them, certainly to improve profitability. Straight away, put the price up. Then that'll force us to fix the sales message, maybe force us to fix the marketing. Then all of a sudden, the company becomes more profitable. It gives us freedom to hire some better people. And it gives us some freedom to do some cultural activities to build team building. And then we focus on the customer experience. We pick up the phone and talk to customers. So, I think that's probably the one thing I'd really like everybody to try to do who's listening to this is, can you put the price up for your organization? Because then you can do some meaningful stuff. And you might have ideas you'd like to try. If you don't put the price up, you're never going to get the freedom to do that. So go and try and do that. If you doubled your price, would you lose half your customers?
The thing is, if you double your price and you lose half your customers, so what? You're getting the same money and you're only doing half as much work. Maybe you only have half as much costs. Yeah, I'm 100% with you. Price is a really, really interesting thing that people get completely wrong all the time. So that is a huge opportunity. Good. I'm expecting a good answer to this question because you've just told us that you've got 1,000 business books. So what is your recommended reading? You only need to recommend 2. If you could only recommend 2.
Look, I've got a lot of great books that I recommend. One book that we help companies implement is a book, Scaling Up by Vern Harnish. And so I think that, in terms of, what, what you're asking yourself and how you're doing it for $30, I think that's it's a great book that you can purchase to be looking at how you can improve your organization. And
Who is that by?
Vern Harnish. So the book's called Scaling Up, Vern Harnish. It's an excellent book, and I think it's a textbook that every business owner should have in their office. Let me think about, there's so many great books. What I'm reading right now is a book called The Personal MBA. And I can't remember the author right now off the top of my head, but I took that away at Easter. We went camping at Easter and I took that away, and I kind of had pretty low expectations of it, but it was on my reading list, and I went, you know what, I'm going to battle my way through. I'm going to sit in a chair in the sun, around a campfire and read that. And it's got a really great formula in about the middle of the book on how to evaluate a business idea, whether you should start or not start. And I think that for the listeners, in terms of if you're innovating your product or service or thinking about bringing a new product or service to market, and thinking about how you're going to market that and how you're going to do it and whether you should continue with the business that you're continuing with because of what we're talking about today in this session, I think The Personal MBA is a great book. And let me just quickly see if I can find the author for you. Josh Kaufman. Josh Kaufman is the author. The Personal MBA, a world-class business education in a single volume.
Fantastic. Good. This has been such a great conversation, man. Thank you so much. Have you enjoyed it?
Oh, absolutely. I always enjoy talking about myself. I love the sound of my own voice. But no, look, I think it's good. They're great questions, and I think it's great to network and spend some time with you. It's always enjoyable to bring some light to these topics, and the more content we produce like this, and the more value we can give people. I hope that some of the advice that I've been able to give today, and the tips that I've got, my campaign is to inspire improvement in 100 million companies. And if someone from one company, if you're listening to this or watching this, and you can implement one piece of advice, then that is helping me with my worthy cause. And that's all I'm here for. The service I give to others is the rent I'm paying for my space on this planet. and I can going to continue to do that.
Wow. You are an inspiration. Thank you. And if they let us know in the comments, then we can tally them off against your 100 million. That would be really useful.
Look, yeah, just like a thumbs up in the comments. Got a tip, implemented that tip, and I need to put that. Like I've got a bolt here, and I'm scratching my table with every company one by one.
Fantastic. Okay, good. There was something else I wanted to say. Yours is the healthiest outlook. You know, where you have identified a way to add value in the world, and so it's actually happening. You're attracting the right people in terms of staff and customers, and you're getting the value. Yours is the path that people should be looking to follow, I think, if they want to start their own business. Good. The reason I asked you, if you've enjoyed this or otherwise, is to establish how easy you're going to find it to throw other people under the bus. So have you got other people that you can introduce me to who you think might enjoy or at least endure to have this conversation?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a couple. I was just thinking about one group of guys who I would highly recommend, and I'm just going to find their details for you. So, how quickly do you need this information? Give me a standby caller. I will find it for you.
I don't need the information. Right. The way it works best is if you've got someone in mind and you can say something about them that might serve as part of the introduction to them. But what really works is if you're able to connect us on LinkedIn and say, like, I've done this thing and it's cool and I thought you might enjoy it, then that's the thing.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, definitely. So there's two guys that have got very similar conversation to this podcast. They do a podcast and they do kind of similar kind of stuff in Canada, who I've spent some time with, and they get it and they would want to, they want to talk about it. The other guy that I'm just trying to think about, like, the best people for the audience.
You mentioned before the guy who wrote the book on value.
Yeah, so that's Mark Carter. So I can introduce you to him. And his book is Add Value. So, yeah, look, I think that actually, and Bernadette Schwerdt would be interesting to talk to. Both Mark Carter and Bernadette Schwerdt have both got TED Talks, both got books. So I'll connect you with both of them and the guys in Canada as well. So I'll give you three.
You're an absolute legend. Thank you so much. It would be good to get to that side of the Atlantic because I've got a very strong Australian thread happening and a very strong UK thread happening. So yeah, it would be good to get to some people across in that direction. Man, I mean it. You're an absolute legend. Thank you so much for this time. It's been really interesting. And I think if YouTube will shine some light on this and people get to hear it, then I think we can contribute a few to your 100 million. And the thing is about that is I think it's a really noble cause. And I don't think it's actually, I mean, it's a huge number, but I don't think bringing value to small business people is tremendously difficult. You know, it's quite clear to me the path that they need to take. And you're actually leading people on that path. So God bless you, Kobi.
Thank you. Thank you.
So what we'll do is we'll say goodbye now for the benefit of anyone who's watching this, and then I'll stop recording. Then we'll say goodbye like normal human beings. So, Kobi, you're an absolute gentleman. You are a legend. Good luck with all your noble causes. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. And maybe in the future we'll come back, we'll have another conversation about one of these things that we've touched on in this one. Thank you so much, man.
Martin, it's been great to be here. Thanks so much for having me.